All right, welcome back to the second episode of the Leafs Lab podcast. I am Michael,
I'm Jordan.
and we are doing it on Zoom today. Jordan has accommodated me. For work, I travel quite a bit, so I'm actually to our neighbors to the south right now. So I appreciate Jordan and accommodating me, and I appreciate everyone kind of getting through our initial technical issues, and hopefully we're on the upwards and onwards here.
Yeah, I definitely think this episode will sound a lot clearer on the listening
Yeah,
ears. So
that's right.
we appreciate all the support, and we'll try work on the audio as we move forward.
And our opinions will be even more correct. That's the
Yeah,
goal. That's the
yeah,
goal. All right. I think rather than dilly-dallying, let's get right into it because we didn't get to everything we wanted to last week. So I feel like before anything changes, and we do both have Twitter open at the moment, just in case anything changes, because I know you were posting some updates this morning.
yes,
Let's kind of touch on a couple things. First, let me go over like the agenda, what I think we're going to chat about. I want to talk a little bit about Fantasyland insofar as some things we would like to do if we ideally had the power ourselves to do. That is trades, signings, decisions, hires, that kind of deal. I want to talk about prospects. I mean, that is just a big part of what we're going to be chatting about. And the reason is simply that's the only interesting thing that could really propel this
yeah.
team forward. I know there's some people with massive cope right now about prospects on the timeline. So I feel like, and I don't know if you follow, I think it's Flo Buds who's just like going through it right now on Twitter. So
Oh my God,
uh,
yeah,
yeah, he's absolutely just having a tough time. So I really feel that. So we'll do a bit of that. And then I think what I didn't get to touch on Berube and his system and the rumor that he might be staying, I know is probably unfounded, but I feel like I really want some time on that. But I want you as well to speak about, you mentioned you wanted to speak about Chayka and AI and those types of things. So
right.
let's kind of start off with what we didn't get to last week. I know you had a couple things. Do you want to go from there, or does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. So where do you want to jump off from? Do you want to start off with different higher potentials, or do you want to go
Yeah.
right into your? Okay, start off
I
with that because
mean,
we did.
I feel like we can do that just because I don't know if you caught Saravelli's tweet from last night that
I did. I
so
unfortunately.
I feel like we should start there just because if they hire someone this week, which it kind of sounds like they will, I feel like we should talk about some two guys who are pretty much at the forefront of this. Also, just want to say what an insane week for content last week. We
Too
got
much
the
content.
Athletic article Wednesday, which kind of blew a hole in the whole Leafs organization. Then we got Sonny Meta to New Jersey on Thursday. And then we got Sundin news on Friday, so which we'll get to
The Sundin news
sometime.
was the shocking one.
Yeah, that one.
Everything else, you're
Yeah,
like I can see that naturally happening, but the Sundin one was out of left field.
but it was just like 3 straight days of some top tier content, the content Olympics for us.
It's too much for me. I
Yeah,
want a quieter team, but continue.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so we can start with Chayka because after Sonny Meta went to New Jersey on Thursday, it kind of started to sound like Chayka became the front runner. I don't know if I would call it a front runner, but kind of just sounded like that was the talk. And it really didn't seem like New Jersey was ever going to let the Leafs get Meta. I know Elliot Friedman reported on 32 Thoughts that the Devils wanted him back, and the moment they realized Toronto was interested in Meta, they jumped on that. They were not letting that happen. That was their guy. Like they were
They
not letting
shit
Toronto
canned
get him.
Fitzgerald for that. Like that's really
Exactly.
what that was the event that started that.
Exactly. And it doesn't sound like they even like spoke to that many people. I believe it was just Meta and Chayka. Like that's it. Like it didn't seem like New Jersey was ever gonna let Toronto get him.
Not to interrupt you, but I like the hire, obviously. I was a big meta guy, but I don't understand the different like they had Dello, no? And then
Yeah,
they
exactly.
let Dello go to a division rival, which is like, okay, fine. But like what happened in these few years that Dello just not met? Like I don't understand why they're so pro meta and with what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah.
that's a bit confusing, but nevertheless, continue.
So, I mean, I can just mention something really quickly. It kind of sounds to me like Dello was more Tulski-esque and that he's so analytics driven. And I feel like Meta is more like he comes from a different background because he's like a poker strategist and things like that. Like he's more willing to take risks or something like that. Like he's much more, I don't know, like strategy kind of
Yeah, you're right.
inclined like
Analytics is not
that.
just one thing. It
Yeah.
is multiple things, and
Yeah.
it's about communication as well. Maybe Meta being just what he was in a previous life, was very capable of internalizing data very well. And then when he chatted about it, it was less complicated. I don't know. I don't want to dumb down these executives,
Yeah,
but
I know what you
maybe he's
mean.
just good at speaking to these people. I have no
Right.
idea.
And so that's when we get to Chayka. And I know Kiprios has been on the Chayka train for a while. He mentioned that Chayka came into the Leafs and really impressed a few people and has suggested that he's a strong candidate. So it does seem like there are a lot of fans in the Leafs organization of Chayka.
Did you
And
read the
so
Petrelli article?
I haven't gone into it yet, but I saw
He had
what
a,
he wrote about Chayka, and I do think we can get to that towards the end because I
all
just
right.
want to talk about his candidacy, and I did
All
have a
right.
line there about his Arizona time. So he founded a hockey analytics company called Staffleet. So that's what he's famous for with his sister Megan Chayka. And he comes from a very business and analytical background. He graduated from Ivy Business School and became AGM of the Coyotes in 2015-16 at just 25 years old. And
Gee,
then yeah, which is insane. Like three
that's wild.
years after university or 2 years after university, you
Yeah.
become AGM of a hockey team. Like that's just insane.
Yeah.
So then one season later, he became the youngest general manager in professional sports history at 26. So a part of me believes that he was just so green to be a GM that, it's kind of hard to evaluate how, like, his time there because he was 25. He's in his mid 20s. Like, I'm in my mid 20s right now, and like, I could not be a GM of a hockey team. Like,
No.
that's just completely ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
So,
that is fair. Like I don't think I gave that enough credence. Like he's a child.
yeah, he's a little man child. Like,
Yeah.
so that's why it's kind of hard to evaluate his time there. But he's very clearly a sharp mind. He's one of the first people to look through microstats and using video tracking through his company, Staff Leads, to capture data points like puck battles, zone entries, things that traditional box scores missed. And so I really like that type of thinking. And to me, he feels very Eric Tulsky-esque in terms of how he thinks, which is kind of the mind that you want running your team. And so where it
Yep.
gets
Yep. Yep.
interesting, so where it gets interesting was he would discuss everything from maximizing sleep to in-flight nutrition to how to best make players' families comfortable and happy. He was always after information to find competitive advantages, which kind of aligns with the thinking of Mike Gillis. So I can
Yeah.
see that partnership working very well. And he's not a hockey traditionalist, which is what, we're after with this hire. You know what I mean?
And in the context of having Gil as someone who's done the hockey thing and being one of the hockey men, and maybe not one of the stereotypical hockey men, I guess I'm now more open to the idea of having someone who might not be as traditional in that role if you've got someone like Gillis or insert name here. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
persuasive. I'll say that because I'm not a Chayka guy, but that's persuasive at least.
yeah. So I think by the end of it, I'll get to it, but that he wouldn't be my guy. Like I don't think Chayka is is my top two or three candidate, but I do give him some leeway because he managed to build competitive rosters in Arizona despite like significant market disadvantages. He had to get creative to go around trade protection and attract talent because people just did not want to go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you look at his moves as Coyotes GM, there were some notable stuff that he managed to pull off. His first trade as GM of the Coyotes was took on Pavel Datsuk's contract, the ghost of Pavel Datsuk, to get the 16th overall pick in 2016. He traded Joe Vitale, the 20th overall pick, and a second rounder. Vitale and Datsuk never played a game for either of their new organizations, but the 16th overall pick that he took on became Jacob Chikrin. Like that's a great trade. And that's his
That is an
first trade.
unbelievable trade.
Like that's his first trade as GM
I
of the
forgot he was
Coyotes.
taking that low, Chikrin. I always thought he was higher than that. Okay. All right.
No, that's it. Yeah. So that was his first trade as GM of the Coyotes was got Jacob Chicken basically. Then he traded a second and a third rounder for Lawson Krause and Dave Boland. Pretty solid trade.
Dave Bolin.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That
Sorry.
was when he was still around. He also traded Scott Wedgwood and a part of a season of Tobias Reeder for Darcy Kemper.
Okay.
Another great trade. He traded Dylan Strome and Brendan Perlini for now long-term Coyote slash Mammoth player Nick Schmaltz.
The Schmaltz. I love Nick
Love that
Schmaltz.
guy. I'm
I
so mad
watched him
he
last
didn't.
night,
Yeah, I'm
but
so mad he didn't make it to free agency. Oh my God, he would have been perfect.
perfect. Literally perfect.
I would have paid the sun the moon for him.
Made in a lab to be our second
Yeah,
line center.
exactly. And then his biggest trade of his career became Nate Schnarr, who I don't even know who that is. Probably isn't in the league anymore.
No.
Kevin Ball, who's like an okay defenseman. Nick Merkley, and a first and a third for then reigning MVP Taylor Hall.
I liked that trade at the time.
Like
I
that's
remember
yeah, like that
they
was a
got to the
great
playoffs that
trade.
year. That was
I
a
believe,
playoff year
yeah,
for
that was
them.
the
Or was that
playoff
the
year.
bubble year?
I
That was the
think
bubble
that
year.
was bubble year because they also had
Because
Phil
of,
Kessel on that
yeah, oh
team,
my
if I
God,
remember
Phil the
correctly.
Thrill. Yeah.
But that's like a great trade. Like none of those guys have panned out to be as good as Taylor Hall ever was.
Yeah, no. And
Yeah.
that is also the gamble you take in the position you're in. And that is my irritation. It's
Yeah.
like I think he knew where he was. They're not gonna get this guy otherwise. They need that type
Exactly.
of like you
Exactly.
might as well okay. Okay. All right.
So I think that's really interesting. The last move trade that I wanted to highlight was he acquired Nicholas Hjalmarsson, who was the Chris Tanev of that generation. Like he
Yeah.
was the elite of the elite defensive defenseman. He traded Connor Murphy and Laurent Dauphin, who
Connor
is I don't
Murphy's a
think
guy, but still
yeah.
worth the trade.
I
Yeah.
mean I don't think he was ever as good as Nicholas Hjalmarsson
I
was.
think I don't I think that yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, but the most interesting part of that is Chayka got together with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who was their captain and most important player at the time, and he asked OEL who his perfect ideal blue line partner was, and OEL said Nicholas Hjalmarsson because I think they were both Swedish, they kind of knew each other.
Yeah. And
So
so
then
that's why I didn't know that.
so then OEL, after he said that, Chayka dug into the numbers, evaluated the Hjalmarsson fit, and then after about a year, he came to the same conclusion. And after about a year, he pulled the trigger on the trade. So
God,
I
Jordan,
think
you're
I
making me
think that
feel
is
hope. Hold on a
I think that
second.
is so interesting because like to have that relationship with your player, like I would love if the GM of the Leafs said to Matthews, like, who is your ideal line mate? And then Matthews came back with a player, and you don't have to just run with it because you have to evaluate the fit as well. So I think just going through that process of talking with your best players and giving them the empowering them to feel like they're giving input and that's being valued, I think that's so fascinating.
Okay. I will be honest on my bias. I was a bit dismissive of Chayka just upon hearing the name, like I really
Hmm.
was, but this has done more. I don't know if it's a lack of process that I've liked with the previous GM or I'm
Yeah,
really liking this process. It just the process was so bad with Brad
exactly.
that any sunlight, you're like, oh my God.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So his drafting is definitely a bit of a mixed bag. There wasn't that many hits, I would say, which is where he kind of struggled a bit, which I think that that's usually where the analytic community starts to fail, is usually with their drafting. Like they're not great talent. They're not
Dubas,
great sorry, junior scouting, minor scouting evaluators.
I feel like Dubas had these like strokes of genius with his regime. And then
Yeah,
but the problem was if you're hitting two, like, I'm going to say it, Cow and Nyes, like if those are unbelievable picks. But
right.
the problem is that's two out of like maybe 10 second round picks you have over a certain 4 or 5 year
Right.
span. Like you actually need more hits and they don't all have to be home runs like Nyes. Cow is basically a second rounder. They don't all have to be home runs like that. But like there were some lean years of
Right.
drafting, both Hunter
Exactly.
related and, in my opinion, Dubas related,
Exactly. And then so because usually with GMs they listen to their pro scout,
as they should,
their
as they
junior
should.
scouts and they listen to their director of amateur scouting and things like that. So it's not really usually where I would fault a GM for because
Interesting.
it's usually I feel it's more towards the staff. Like usually when we talk about the Leafs drafts, we would credit Wes Clark and things like that, as opposed to we can credit Dubas, but a lot of the work is done by the amateur scouting staff.
Yeah.
So really the only major hits he had was in 2016 he got both Clayton Keller and Jacob Chikrin in the first round. And those are
So
like
yeah,
banger picks.
yeah, that
But
is. But that's 10 years ago.
yeah, and you would expect a GM to hit on their first round picks.
First round
So
picks are you should play
you should
300
hit them.
games in the NHL minimum,
Exactly.
300 in the first round.
And so the only really other player he kind of drafted was Barrett Hayden, who's a solid player, and that was in 2018. So
Yeah.
none of the other guys he drafted were all that great.
That's concerning. We'll also talk about this like Gary Roberts rumor of like
Right.
amateur development. And I think like fundamentally that's one of my biggest issues with, and this is a couple of years, is like they do not develop anyone,
Exactly.
especially the last 3 years. Even if they had developed someone, how would you know? Because they don't fucking play these guys. Sorry,
Yeah, and they
that's an
just get
aside.
rid of them before they
Yeah.
before they trade.
Yeah. Bobby McMahon was the last
Yeah.
like guy
Yeah,
that they
exactly.
developed.
Exactly. So that's kind of really all that drafting was noteworthy. In terms of his signings, his three biggest extensions were to his three most important players. He got Jacob Chikrin at 6 years, $4.6 million AAV, banger contract. He got Nick Schmaltz at 7 years, $5.85 million
Damn,
AAV,
this guy
another
only
home
signs
run.
long-term schmaltz. This guy does not
Another,
like
ho-
show-ups.
yeah, but another home run deal, and then he got Clayton Keller at 8 years, $7.15 million AAV, and the article I was reading at the time talked about how bad of a deal that was because
I remember that.
Keller had not broken out. Keller was just like this mid player who was kind of stuck, and I think that in hindsight, that was a great deal. Like Keller
Yeah,
is fantastic. I think he's their captain now, right?
he is their captain.
Yeah. So what a fantastic signing that
I
was.
think Cooley's the next captain. Like, guy's
Yeah,
electric. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if I'm just
exactly.
biased because I'm watching a game at 10 p.m. last night, but like,
No, he looks
God, I
like a
love
dog.
Cooley. Yeah.
And then the other thing was he let captain and franchise face Shane Doan walk because the team missed the playoffs for a fifth straight season. So I think that is just like the type of backbone that you need sometimes.
I think I agree with that. I think the one thing I'll say about that is regardless of which GM comes in, I don't think any of them are going to have a problem trading Austin. Not maybe not a problem, but
Hmm.
insert guy here. They're going to say one of two things. It's either Austin, we're going to be better. We're going to try and keep you. And if they're not better, they'll say, well, I didn't sign you. I didn't fuck this team up. Like, okay, like it's not a loss on me if you're gone. That's a fault of
Right,
Dubas, Brad, like insert guy here.
right.
So that well, I believe Chayka might do it. Like I think any GM at this point would, except for a guy with the makeup and constitution of Brad, who is just
Right,
incapable.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, you've kind
So,
of swayed me a bit. You've swayed me a
right.
bit.
So overall, I think my take is that he's a very smart man. He's obviously heavy into analytics, and he definitely knows how to make a savvy acquisition. I think that's fair. I also do give him more leeway because he would obviously have much more resources to work with in Toronto than he ever did in Arizona. And I pulled up a quote from him where he basically said, no enterprise ever got to the top by making a series of layups. You know, sometimes logic isn't your friend. And I think that's a great mindset to have
Yeah.
sometimes.
No more singles. Like truthfully,
Yeah,
like singles are
exactly.
important. Dubas hit a fuck ton of singles, and I really like the Dubas years, and I liked a lot of his decisions. But if you're hitting singles or sacrifice bunts, like at some point,
Yeah,
like you need to hit a ball to the gap and take advantage of something.
exactly. And so obviously the main drawback with him is the lack of team success, and no doubt it would be a scary hiring. Like I think everyone's petrified of Cheka, but I think he's very smart and calculated. Every move he makes has the backing of evidence behind it, and getting into what Petrielli said about the whole thing with how he left with the owner and leaving to go talk to the New Jersey team about their job. I generally would give people a second chance. Like I do think there is something to believe with. If someone shows you who they are, you have to believe them. But I also think people learn. He was very young at the time, so I think people make mistakes, and I'm willing to give people a second chance and hope that he's learned from his time in Arizona.
I'll agree. I think as long as they don't have to be in lockstep with the president of hockey ops, but there needs to be some congruency. And the reason I like the idea of congruency is the shape needs to be the same.
Right.
Maybe there's some differences. Maybe the lines don't 100% touch each other, but there needs to be this. And that's what was even with the Lou Lamoriello years. You had Lou, then you had Dubas and Hunter. And like in retrospect, there was no congruency. That's how you got Marlowe.
Yeah,
And Marlowe
exactly.
had a good season.
Yeah.
but that's it. And
Right.
that's how you get signing fucking Zaitsev, which I know is such a small issue, but like there's no way Dubas signs Zaitsev. So now you've
No,
got
it
Zaitsev.
doesn't.
And ultimately they were able to get rid of them to, but I just, you know what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah.
you're hitting all these singles and then you make such a bad error. And it's like, well, you just wiped out all those singles. You know what I'm trying to say? Again, I'm
Yeah.
getting a bit off topic, but okay. I, I
Yeah.
I'm kind of in love with Gillis at this point, like from everything I've heard. So
So,
I will feel more
mhm.
comfortable when he's hired.
So just speaking of Gillis, someone pointed this out to me on Twitter, and I actually looked into it more, and it makes so much sense. So when Pittsburgh hired Brian Burke and Ron Hextall a couple years ago, the Penguins were saying they did not need a president the whole time. They said, we do not need a POHO, we just want a GM. But they were using Brian Burke as a sounding board for GM candidates. So
Oh,
when they
Poho.
ze so when they zeroed in on Hextall as their top choice, Brian Burke was on board with the hire. So when they wanted to bring Brian Burke on board as their POHO, they made sure Hextall was okay with it. So they essentially had Brian Burke the whole time
Yeah.
as their POHO. And only after they had hired Hextall, they were like, okay, fine, we'll bring you on board as POHO as well. So that definitely seems like what is going on with Mike Gillis. Like he feels like he's been hired as the president this whole time. And
Yeah.
so I
I,
wonder if they're using him as a sounding board a bit.
I hope it. I need it to happen. Like we're at this point. We're near the end of April. I know everyone's like, "Oh, we have time." Like the, every day you do not have a POHO is a day wasted doing. Like that is just the way these
Yeah,
organizations work. They need to get this
exactly.
done. Okay.
Exactly. And I think that also lends credence to why they're only looking for one person because they're only looking for a GM because Gillis is the POHO. Like
I'm hoping you're right.
they're
I'm
not looking
hoping
for
you're
two
right.
people because they already have one of them, if that makes sense.
I'm hoping you're right. I'm not. I won't be confident until it's done, but I'm hoping
Yeah.
you're right.
And then so the last thing on Chayka is I the only thing is it really seems like Gillis is coming on board as the POHO. Sundin is coming on in some capacity as well, which we'll get into. Will they really hire Chayka as well as a and giving them three prominent hires? I don't think so. So to me, it feels like Chayka's case is a bit of a moot point. I think if he would come on back to the league, he would want final say on roster transactions. And to me, him, Gillis, and Sandin is just too many hands on the wheel. You know what I mean?
And they've already
So
got 75 assistant general managers.
yeah,
Like,
exactly, exactly. So to me, it's much more likely they bring on somebody who's a current AGM, someone with less experience who wants to be mentored by Gillis, which, if I can get into that in a second, brings me to Ryan Martin, who's my personal favorite candidate. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know I've been banging the Ryan Martin drum
you are
for
banging that
days at a
drum, brother.
time. Like, I love Ryan Martin.
Listen, the my I'm so nervous to get excited about anyone you're posting about because until these guys show that they've made a decision, and I know you think they've made like I need
Mhm.
a decision to be made,
Right,
and I don't want them
exactly.
to rush it, but it's like, man, like this is the moment. No one's being eliminated. The second some of these teams
Yeah,
are eliminated, like you
yeah,
don't think the second a team like not like I want them to go further because I love Connor McDavid, but if you think Edmonton's eliminating you don't think they're making sweeping changes.
of course. No, 100%.
So it's like
They're such a lock for Bruce Cassidy. Like, it's not even funny.
it's like start making these decisions
Yeah,
because the Leafs were the only team of the last like 10 years when they would lose in the first
right.
round, they wouldn't make immediate changes.
Right.
Okay.
And to me, it was a bit of connecting some dots because you got the Sarah Valley report that they're moving toward the finalist stage. And then you got Friedman, who also said that he thinks they're bringing people in for in-person interviews this week.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like they're moving to the final stage. And then there was a Dreger report this morning as well that Ryan Martin is supposed to talk to the Leafs this week. So to me, that screams that Martin is a finalist.
Yeah.
And so the reason I like him so much is that because he's so well-rounded than some of the other names being discussed. He was a former player agent and attorney for 7 years. So I think that
The
is
Cooper
right off the
model,
bat.
attorney. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think Kent Hughes was also a player agent. Yeah, he was a player agent. I don't know if he was an attorney as well, but most of these player agents start off as an attorney as well.
Yeah.
So that's the type of the background that you want. He
Like my brother's
was,
actually a lawyer, and he's like, I'd love to like be a player agent. Like that's like that is
yeah,
something in
like
the back of his mind. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. Like I know your brother played high level hockey, so I
yeah.
think that's like exactly where it comes from. And so he's been in the NHL since 05, 06. He started with the Detroit Red Wings in the Datsuk era. So that's like right the time of the period that you want to be working in. Um, he was an AGM with the Red Wings. He started in 2010, where he handled cap management, contract, CBA compliance, scouting, and analytics. So that's exactly the type of skill set that you want in a GM role. And he ran Detroit's AHL affiliate, helped build two Calder Cup winning teams. So they won two Calder Cups
Yeah.
with him as AGM there. And then also he was from 2013 to 2023 was a scout with USA Hockey at the World Juniors. So not
I
only
like that. Yeah.
was he in charge of doing all this cap and CBA compliance and analytics and stuff like that, he was also a scout. So he was building his, eye test and then also building his analytics mindset and then also building CBA compliance and stuff like that. So he has all of these different skill sets that makes him such a well-rounded executive.
Oh,
Um,
please.
yeah, so
I'm on the Martin train, truthfully. Like my bias aside, like that's who I'd like over Chayka. That's my feeling at the moment.
yeah. And then so in New York, he also really emphasized building strong NHL, AHL development pipelines. And I think that's also something the Leafs need. Like you look at these teams like Tampa, who
Yeah.
just will just call up Buzz Flibbit and whatever Mark Donk, that famous,
Acting the fool, man.
yeah,
All-time tweet.
the
All-time
famous
tweet.
ATF tweet. So I think that's just Tampa in a nutshell. They call up these random guys, Charles Edward Dustus, I think is his
Yeah.
name. You got Darren Radish, who comes from the God knows where, and they call these guys up, and they're just banger home run, people that just fill every roster fit you can think of. And I think that's also what the Leafs are missing is they just can't call up these guys from the
That is
minors that step
organizational. Like
in.
I'm trying not to lose my mind about Berube because I'm like kind of like a dog who's like rabid at the moment because
Yeah,
like I'm looking now at their front office and like look the joke, oh, they've got all these assistant GMs. Like a lot of these assistant GMs are assistant GMs in name only. Like no offense to like Daryl Metcalf, he's the assistant of
yeah,
hockey research and development.
exactly.
He just got a promotion. He's not in like the upper echelon of like
And it
who
doesn't
the
even sound like Trilliving listened to him. So
yeah. So like it seems to me like the three big assistants general managers were Pridham, Clancy, and Wickenheiser. Like that to me, based on what like Ryan Hardy, the minor league ops, like whatever. He's not an actual. So I'm willing to be like,
right,
they've got all these assistant GMs, they're paying more. God bless. If Martin comes in, I need there to be like if your three people are Pridham, Clancy, Wickenheiser, like just for like honest to goodness, that's fine with me. Sure.
yeah, yeah,
There needs to actually be like if Dr. Wickenheiser is like the player development head, like, listen, like this is a very smart hockey person. Like what, like Clancy, player personnel. Like I don't know if they did anything because I don't trust Brad. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? And I'm going a bit
yeah. No, I
circular
know what
here,
you mean.
but
I
it's
know
like
what you mean.
Martin needs to come in and define roles. Like Pridham's role is pretty
100%.
clear. He's the
Yeah.
only guy where we're like, oh, that was a Pridham thing because he made like some magic happen.
Yeah.
But like what? This is such a bad example, but stick with me here. Pierre Engvall, the
Okay.
definition of a dude.
Yeah. Full
However,
on guy.
that is a full-on guy. However, like you've got Alex Kerfoot still playing on the fourth line and second power play minutes in Utah. Like, where are the Leafs versions of guys? Like Cal Youngkruk's not a guy. That's below a
No.
guy.
Yeah, no,
You see
he
what I'm trying to
sucks.
say?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're telling me you've got no guys.
Like Holmberg was a guy.
Oh my fucking God. I don't want to get back into it
Yeah,
about
I
how
know.
much
We
I love
talked about too
Holmberg.
much about him last
It's
week
just
already.
it's just like you're telling me Villeneuve, okay, Villenove's not a guy, he's a guy, great. Thrun, that's a guy. Like I just
Yeah. Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
what is the point? If you're gonna be bad, if you're gonna have guys on your team who are below replacement level, Yarn Croak. Steven Lorenz did not have a good season besides the PK. I'm willing to give it to you. But let's
Yeah.
use Yarn Croak as an example. Let's use whatever, even Domi as an example.
Or like
If
Quillen
you're
is a guy.
yeah, if you're gonna be
Yeah.
bad, you might as well be fast. Like this is
Hmm.
the thing with Yarncroke. If you're going to be this bad, I want you to at least
Yeah.
be fat. That's a Kerfoot
Right.
example.
Right.
Kerfoot is a cardio merchant, but boy, does he do cardio.
I
He gets
know.
up and down the ice.
He's
And
just moving all the time.
that was Engvall, where it's like you don't really do much. Mikheyev after his wrist injury, like didn't do
Yeah,
much,
I feel
but at
bad
least
about
he's
that.
moving. Like I know I'm getting you
Hmm.
way off topic, but this is the problem: is even if Brad had this outlined as this is what we need. I mean, he called up. It's like Berube was unwilling. This
Hmm.
is why you need congruency. Like this is the thing.
Exactly.
You don't want everyone echoing the same opinion. You do need a
Yeah.
difference in an
Yeah.
organization, and
Exactly.
that's important. But like I'm looking now at all these smart hockey people, and he listened to Diddley. It's
He
just
didn't listen to anyone. No.
it's so frustrating. And like I don't want
Yeah.
to step on your toes, but I've got a Berube like 5 or 10 minute screed, which I'm going to
Hmm.
try to keep cool, but continue with Ryan Martin, and then I'll lose
Yeah.
my fucking mind.
So just to wrap up the Ryan Martin segment, to me, he's the perfect blend of analytics driven with also traditional scouting. So
Yeah.
I think he brings everything you want. To me, he's just more well-rounded than Sunny Meta because, and I wish I wrote about this before because no one's gonna believe me now, but I actually did have Ryan Martin as my number one and Sunny Meta as my number two. But
Likely story.
now it doesn't even matter because no one's gonna believe me. But to me, he's just more well-rounded than Meta. He is heavy driver of organizational development systems and promoting guys from within
Love it.
and focuses on long-term player growth and roster, sustainability. And to me, he just screams future NHL GM. And I know a lot of Rangers fans were in my comment section on Twitter being like, the Rangers suck, he sucks. And to me, I just can't fault him because Chris Drury sucks. Like he's an awful general
Sucks.
manager.
This team won the President's
Yeah,
Trophy.
yeah. And he just took a stick of dynamite to that dressing room and traded
JT
Goudreau
Miller
and traded
as
all
your
those guys.
acquisition is
Yeah,
fucking
no,
nuts.
you can't touch that guy with a 10-foot pole. Like he's just
You see his
across
quotes
from
the other day
fantastic.
about like the captaincy was too much. Like
Did he
I just
say that? Oh, I missed that.
I'm really ad-libbing it there, but he's
Hmm.
basically like, there's a lot of pressure. I don't know if I was 100% ready for it. Now I'm ready for it. I've learned. It's like if
That's
Austin said
crazy.
that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's
No,
insane.
I agree. I'm always willing to take a grain of salt of bad teams that are suddenly bad because it's the GM. Like Chris
Right.
Jury, notoriously, he's not really that great at his job.
Exactly. And I think, you know, people don't look at Pridham any worse. People don't look at certain guys in this
Exactly.
organization any worse because they're so bad. It's
Yeah.
because Treliving and Berube are just a disaster.
Yeah.
And
A
so to
hundred
me,
percent.
it doesn't change my perception of Pridham. It shouldn't change your perception
Yeah.
of Ryan Martin.
Okay, we've done about almost half an
Yeah.
hour on this. So
Okay.
I think not that you can't have more to say, but
No, I'm
let's
good
keep
there.
something in the
Mhm.
docket. I want to quickly on Berube because I'm watching all this playoff hockey
Okay. Let's do it.
and I'm like lying in bed. My girlfriend's asleep next to me because she has a always early morning. So it's me just stewing,
Yeah.
watching. Okay. Theoretically, Berube's system was have stoppers on D. I don't hate that idea. You're going to have cycle stoppers. You're going to have guys who are so big and long that as the cycle happens, you're able to stop it, which is essentially saying we're going to let you have the puck a bit longer. Your cycles are going to be kind of drawn out. You're going to have more puck possession. But as a result of this possession, we're able to put a stop to it, move the puck.
Right.
Fantastic in theory.
Yeah.
First, they can't even do that. Like these stoppers are not stoppers. Like Jake McCabe, I love him. He's a warrior. He might be a stopper. Carlo might be a stopper. The problem with might be a stopper is that's not enough. If you're built on being stoppers, you don't get to be might. You have to
Hmm.
be, you are. Okay. Benoit aside. Let's say ideally they stop the cycle, which they cannot do. They stop the cycle. Because these guys, as stoppers, cannot move the puck, the only place to go with the puck is up the boards. What used to happen, and everyone remember this from the Ottawa series and the Florida series from last year, is Chris Tanev would have this little like three
Yeah.
or foot put bump pass to the low center. Who was the low center? It was our basically Austin because he was always in the defensive zone. He's an elite defensive player. Austin was always there because he knew Chris Tanev was a stopper, battle, move the puck. But that's not happening this year. So the puck's going up the boards, as I mentioned last week, to these weak wingers. These wingers are only able to either do one of two things: lose the puck
Yeah.
or chip it out.
Hmm.
The whole thing continues again. That's the cycle. I'm watching teams like Montreal, and I'm not even going to use Lane Hutz as an example because he is a alien from outer space. But they've got smaller. They've got some guys. Jacques is a lunatic, but he's not even a puck mover. But they've got these guys who are not necessarily hulking stoppers, but because they're able to move the puck, sometimes the cycle goes on a little longer than you'd like, but ultimately they're able to get the puck, move it to
Yeah.
speedy forwards. Now, here's the problem. The Leafs have no speed up front. So even if everything goes well, which it never did, they stop the cycle, they move the puck out well, they go with possession. Berube's system was dump the puck in. We lost our best forechecker last year. Say what you want about Mitch Marner. He was an elite defensive player, an elite
Yeah.
forechecker, not because he was huge. And yes, he's fast, but not just because he's fast, but because he thinks. He was such a good forechecker. Now, say what you want about Matthew Nice. He's not a great forechecker. He hits hard, but he's
No, he's
not
just
winning a lot
big.
of pucks back, which is fine. He's 6'3". You don't have to be
Mhm.
again, I'm really getting into the details here. But the reason all of this is being said
Hey,
is you
they come
watch.
to the podcast for details, so
That's
it's all
right.
good.
And
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind watching these teams because there are different ways to be good. You watch Vegas, or let's say Florida from a couple of years ago. They were dump the puck in, forecheck hard, muzzle top. But Utah, fast. You can argue there's some defensive flaws and that they're so back and forth, but ultimately, that's a team that is a different way to be successful. Now, you might say, you know what, they're not actually that successful. So let's take the Leafs again. In an ideal world, what's happening is they're losing the puck possession battle,
Hmm.
but they're at least causing enough damage to you that in transition they can score because they're not a puck possession team. That means you're scoring in transition. I know this is sounding very circular, but ultimately what's happening is Leafs can't get the puck back, and when they have it, they're just giving it up. And the problem with Berube's system is he wants all these stoppers, but stopper you can't like. I feel like I'm going crazy telling people. Everyone's like Berube just needs a team. Berube just needs a team. It's like
Yeah.
he had a
Hmm.
team that was at least average in the NHL, and fundamentally, this is also a tree living issue where, and this is God bless Morgan Riley, he does not have the tools to be a puck mover anymore. His legs are gone, everything's gone. If they can have a coach and congruency, I'll bring this term again, with the GM, they can build a team that everyone's like, oh, they're going to be awful next year. Like, they're really not. It is so easy
Yeah.
to get
It
10
is
or
so
15 points
easy.
in the,
Hmm.
it just, I know it's not making a ton of sense what I'm saying, but at the best case scenario of this team was last year, like 2 years ago at this point, and they were a bad possession team. Like they were a bad team.
Hmm.
And that's the best case scenario. And
Yeah.
everything with Berube is making me crazy. Like he was playing Philippe Myers.
Insane.
He does not
Top pair
understand why
minutes.
this team was bad. Again, I'm not going to, that is all I'm going to
Yeah.
say for now. If they keep him, I think what I was going to do on Twitter, if they end up keeping Berube, is like a Justin Bourne style breakdown of like
Yeah.
this, that, the other. I don't really know if they're going to keep him, so I don't want to waste my time doing it. But that is
Hmm.
my thoughts on Berube. I hope that was somewhat understandable. But as you can tell, I'm actually sweating. Like I'm getting so aggravated. Okay,
Yeah. So
we've got, sorry.
I just want to mention what I was gonna say on
Yeah,
Berube.
hit me.
Um, and I think the biggest thing for me is this was so foreseen. Like everyone, like I felt like I was going crazy on Twitter last year because I was saying that I don't like the system they're playing. You know, they're getting outshot by a cajillion every single game. And, you know, it's a lot of wear and tear on their D to block shots, a lot of wear and tear on their goalies stopping rubber. And I think that played itself out in the playoffs because they controlled just 42% of the shot attempts in the playoffs last year, which was the worst among all playoff teams. So
Oh my God.
we could see that they had issues that they were not going to be able to, you know, win playing like that. And we could all see that they couldn't break it out. They were chasing play all the time. They were relying too heavily on their goalies. And he had an entire summer to fix that, and he couldn't do it.
He
Treliving
nerfed a
also
70 goal scorer. He
exactly,
nerfed a 70 goal
exactly.
scorer. Sorry,
He
continue.
he was playing Matthews like frickin' prime Dave Steckel or
I was,
some defensive centers, whatever it
yeah.
was.
What a
And
pull.
Treliving also said it last year. Like he mentioned how he wanted D who could move the puck and how he knew that the Leafs had breakout issues, but no one was able to fix it, which is to me is insane. And I think the post-Olympic stretch run should be enough to make Berube not coach in the league again, which I don't think is fair because he'll obviously coach again. But to me, They had a 5-13-5 record, which is 31st in the league in points percentage. They were outscored 59 to 35 at 5v5, 31st in the
Jesus
league.
Christ.
I hope these are updated because I don't remember the last time I checked them. But even if they're not, there might be 1 or 2 games off. But anyways,
Yeah.
outscored 59 to 35 at 5v5. They controlled just 41.83% of the shot attempts, which is 32nd in the league. They had just 40.27% of the expected goals at 5v5, 31st in the league. And they had just 39% of the high danger chances at 5v5,
Do you know
31st
how
in the
hard that
league.
is? Do you
Like
know how
that is
hard it is to
so
be that
bad.
bad?
That
Do you
is
know how
so
difficult it
bad.
is?
Like
Hockey
I
is
just
by
don't get
nature a
it.
50-50
Yeah.
sport. You could be
Yeah.
god awful and have a 48% possession. Like, do you
Exactly.
understand?
Exactly.
And also, you want to argue they gave up, like, but they did not have the skill. Like, I'm
No.
sorry, you could
Yeah.
like guys, and they just sometimes you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Connor Timmins is playing on the most electric team in the NHL. You're
Exactly.
telling me you couldn't staple Connor Timmins to a guy like OEL on the third pair, or OEL had a great season, so maybe that's not the example, but you couldn't have Connor Timmins on your team and give you
Exactly.
an
Exactly.
extra win this
I don't
season.
I don't
I
get it.
just if you're going to be bad, at least be
Lilligren,
good
same
offensively.
thing.
If you're going to be
Yeah.
Simon Ben was a seventh D. I don't care what you say to me. If you're going to be Simon Benoit and you're going to be bad defensively and offensively, and he was bad defensively because he was stapled to Myers, I think he can do more. At least be good offensively. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
actually going to have a conniption. This is what I'm
Yeah.
going to say. We're running now. Let's do about. I think we have about 20-ish more minutes left. That is my
Hmm.
understanding. I have some Fantasyland signings slash
Okay, let's
trades.
do
I
that.
think we should do that 10 minutes. I want to do another 10-ish minutes on this idea of like this article mentioned AI. I have some thoughts.
Me too.
And then I have a question that I like to end the podcast on.
Right.
That's a bit of a segment. So let's fly through these.
Okay.
Hit me. Let's start with a mock trade I have mentioned to you. And I want to hear
Okay,
your
let's do
thoughts on
it.
it. And for all the listeners, I'm not an insane person. I know this is not going to happen, but this is the
It's
perspective.
Fantasyland. It doesn't
Yes,
count.
this is
Yeah.
the more so than the exact trade. This is the idea of the thinking I want this GM to have. And I know he's come out and said he loves Vancouver. I saw your smile. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
I don't see why the Leafs can't go to a desperate team like Vancouver. Insert desperate team here or insert bad GM here and say, and now they just fired their GM, so maybe they're not going to have a bad GM. You've got a guy that's unhappy who is being paid too much. We are the Toronto Maple Leafs. We are okay paying too much. We are going to give you our boat anchor. You give us your boat anchor. Why is Elias Pettersson not on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now?
Hmm.
I don't think it's this genius idea that's going to fix the Leafs. But if you're looking for a second line center, there's worse options. Why not make that a deal? And I know
Hmm.
we've chatted a couple different things of like what this is not going to happen, obviously. Mason McTavish or Quinton Byfield, who's actually had a pretty good back half. But the point is like, why are we not going after these
Right.
types of guys? What are your thoughts on Elias Pettersson to the Leafs?
Can I give you a stat that'll make you want to kill yourself or make you want to die?
Oh, yeah. Either or I'm
Um,
okay with. Hit me.
Guess how many goals he has since January 15th.
Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, hint, it's in 36 games. Guess how many goals he has?
Okay, he had a bad season.
Hmm.
36 games. My initial
Since
thought would
January
be,
15th.
oh, fuck. It's going to be higher than I think. I'm going to assume to say like 12. I don't know. That's
Two.
higher than I think. I think 12 because initially I'd say
Hmm.
like 7. What does he have?
2 goals. Two goals.
Okay, hold on a second. I didn't know he was that bad. Hold the
So
phones.
so I was looking into him as well because I
Oh my
am fully
God.
fully fascinated by his potential. I think he just needs to get out of Vancouver. I don't think it's working for him
What's his
anymore.
usage right now? Hold on a second.
Yeah, like I think he would blossom in a new environment. And we talked about this before, but he represents the Leafs' best chance of finding an elite top six center.
There you go.
Like
Perfect way of saying it.
that's the appeal with him because there's nobody on the trade market, nobody on the free agent market that can come close to matching his skill at his peak. The
Okay.
problem is his value has been so tanked. He has
Because
two
he's being
goals
garbanzo
in
beans. That's why.
36 games. Like that is so bad.
That's Kelly Yarncroke levels of
Yeah,
actually Kelly
exactly.
Yarncroke.
He might
Okay,
have
I'm on
zero
natural
goals.
stat trick. Hold on a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That changes my mind.
like
Or
I'm still open to it, but Holy shit, is it a gamble?
Okay, so fine. I'm willing to say for the listeners, I'll take the L on that one. But at least my point about the type of that you need to have
Yeah, it's that philosophy.
like yes, there you go. Perfect way of saying it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that guy, but I'm tired of saying, oh, there's nothing out there, there's nothing we can do. We can't find centers. That makes me want to drive
Yeah.
into a wall.
Me
I
too. But
hate that.
I'm still open to him. Like if the trade isn't all that cost prohibitive to the Leafs, like if they can get him for relatively low value, um, I would still be open to it because he's still a strong defensive player, and I think he could find some chemistry with Nylander on the second line. Like
Second line
I think
usage,
that's
no
that
defensive. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. So if you just like stuff him with some like offensive zone starts with Willie, I think they would have that Swedish connection. So I'm still open to Pedersen, but it is a huge gamble and it takes some creativity with the front office, with the coaching staff to figure out the right usage for him
you need
that
a
I
good
think could
coach.
work.
You
Exactly.
like say what you want. Like I don't love Foot, I don't love Alvin, I don't like Rutherford. So I don't want to say I'm not blaming the player, but like a good coach, some good line mates. Like I'm just like I'm struggling here because I'm in another country. My computer's very confused about why I'm trying to sign into these places here. But okay, what are your fantasy thoughts, like fantasy trade signing? Because you kind of
So,
talked me out of that one.
mhm.
That's wild.
So yeah, when I saw that stuff, that was ridiculous. So my number one trade, and I tweeted about this at the trade deadline, but I love Jordan Kyrou. Like
Ooh.
I think he's such a good player, and
So I'm
I
just like looking at Elias Pettersson numbers now.
yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry to bring it back. Holy shit.
Like he had a
Oh
bad
my God,
season.
man.
Like I cannot believe he makes 11.6 million.
Do you remember his rookie season? How
How many points did he
fucking
have?
electric he was. I
Yeah.
just remember this guy was ripping pucks bar down. He was
Yeah. And
unbelievable. Sorry.
even the year that they played the Oilers in the playoffs, I think he had like 7 goals in that run or something, right?
He did. These numbers can't be right.
Like he had a good playoffs.
He's a good play. He was a good player.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm like actually befuddled.
Yeah,
I
about
don't
how
use that word
bad.
very frequently. Okay, continue. I'm sorry for like stepping on your toes here.
All
I'm just
good.
like in shock.
So I love Jordan Kyrou, and I think he had a really bad season this year. I think he had like 18 goals and like 46 points or something like that. And
Yeah.
I think that has kind of, faulted his narrative a bit. A lot of Blues fans are not happy with him. They want him out of the country, as fast as possible. And, I would love him on my team. But despite his, reputation as a soft, skilled winger, he's actually really good defensively. He's like in the
Okay.
99th percentile or 100% percentile in Jay Fresher's player card. So he's actually a really good defensive player. He's also wicked
I like that.
fast. And
Wicked fast.
the
Okay.
Leafs need way more speed. He's wicked
Way more
fast.
speed.
Like I think
Way
he
more.
would easily be the fastest player on the team. Um, he's got a great skill set as kind of a dual threat playmaker scorer, and I think that's the type of player you need alongside Matthews, someone that could feed him the puck in great spots in the offensive zone. And he's also a great puck carrier in transition. So, you
That
know,
is the most important thing you
that
said.
is important because Matthews is not a good puck carrier in transition, and neither is Nyes. So if that's your top line with Nyes, Matthews, Kyrie, you need someone to carry the puck, and that's where Marner excelled at because he could carry the puck in transition. And I think that's something that
And Matthews
Matthews
is not great
needs.
at it. He's really not.
Yeah,
Like he's good.
exactly.
He's good. It's not his strength.
Exactly. And he's very good at getting lost in coverage. And I think I tweeted about this, I think, in the Olympics time, because someone found him in a soft spot in the offensive zone and he just ripped it bar down. Like that's what makes Matthews so good is he gets lost in coverage in the offensive zone,
Yeah.
usually at the higher like points near the blue line. And I think that's where Kyrie could excel
You know what?
at.
He had a down year. So if there's ever going to be a time,
Yeah,
this is what we're
exactly.
saying. It doesn't even have to be Kyra. Like I love Kyra. I love it. Just I would like them to log on to moneypock.com and see who's having a down year, who is
Yeah,
actually good, and take advantage of it.
exactly.
Steve Dangle always says, "Call the bad GMs." I'm not saying that St.
Exactly.
Louis, but like yeah, like his numbers are significantly down this year. Take advantage. I'm tired of being taken advantage of or playing market price for these guys.
Exactly, exactly. And so my educated guess, last thing on Kyrie, my educated
Yeah.
guess is I think he would love to play for the Leafs. I was at Casimoto in Yorkville
Oh,
last
buddy, at
last.
Casimoto. All right.
I was there at last summer, and he was there. I ran into him at the bar there,
Yeah.
and I think he would relish the opportunity of playing for the Leafs as long as Berube is gone, because we know
Yeah,
they just
I
hate each
remember
other.
that.
So I think he would love to play for the Leafs. He has a no trade clause, I believe. So I think he
Ugh,
would waive. I
those
think
things
he
move.
would
Yeah.
waive, but that kind of would help them because you
Yeah.
don't have to give as much back to the Blues.
His
So
shooting percentage was
I
down
love it.
5% this year. Like he really had a
Yeah.
down year. He's been better every okay. Jordan,
There's my
you're
Kyrie
yeah.
take. I love Jordan Kyrie. He's my number one target.
I and I'm t Down Goes Brown always says it where he makes the joke of like every GM goes, oh, it's just so hard to make trades. It's so
Exactly.
hard to make trades. It's
Exactly.
like I just don't believe that to be true. Now the Leafs lack assets, but this is productive thinking. It doesn't even have to happen, but I don't believe Brad was ever even having conversations that were needle movers. Like
Yeah, neither do I.
nothing was moving the needle. Okay,
Like
yeah,
just off that, like Dubas, the thing with Dubas is every time he made a trade at the deadline, it was for somebody that made an impact. Like he
yeah,
got Muzzin, he got Giordano, he got Nick Foligno, he got McCabe and Ryan O'Reilly. They were all
yeah.
needle moving trades. Yeah, he spent a lot, but they were all needle moving trades. Treliving only traded for Lawton, Carlo, Joel Edmondson,
Oh my
Ilya
fuck.
Labushkin. Like it was all these like
Oh my
mid-ass
God.
players.
The definition of like just vanilla. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like say what you want about the Leafs development. You're telling me you could not put in insert player here instead of paying for Ilya Labushkin. Like it's
Exactly.
just again definition of not a stopper.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I watch the back to Berube. They play man zone D, which is fine. I get it.
Hmm.
That is an okay way to play. But when you are the slowest team in the league, the problem with man D is if one guy gets beat, you're cooked. That's what they're
Yeah.
giving up 18 high
Yeah,
danger
yeah.
shots a game. If you
Exactly.
play zone, it's very difficult because it's very easy to break down. You've got guys cutting through. But again, I'm actually not doing it. I'm actually not doing that. I feel like I'm going to lose it. Okay, well, you know what I want to talk about? The overreaction to this AI thing.
Okay, let's go with that.
Okay. I am an AI skeptic insofar as I think there might be an over reliance on it. I don't think we should be relying on it to make life and death decisions. I say this just
Yeah.
as someone, I don't want journalists or reporters to lose their job to like I value the idea that you need to have humans reporting things and humans doing things. It's why I don't want, knock on wood, I ever have to go to the doctor. I don't mind if my doctor is relying on AI to do some things, note taking, things like this potentially, but I don't want my physician doing my I mean AI doing the job of my
Yeah.
physician.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, I know a lot of like I have a cousin who's a radiologist and he said what's happening is a lot of their time is being enhanced because they're getting AI to look at a scan and that might speed up part of the diagnostic process, but I still want him looking at my x-ray when I
Yeah.
knock on
No,
wood
you
break
want
my
that too.
jaw again.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean knock on wood please. So I understand that and I take that onto account. Every organization in the world is using AI.
Yeah.
The
No,
idea that Keith
100%.
Pelley, and this has been said before, he's not, I think it was by Banksy, who I really like. He's not like, I don't know how many people, like, I love this guy. I think
Hmm.
he's pretty big on me Twitter. I mean, from me, I have 30 followers. Great. Um, and he said, like, he's not walking in there with, like, what would you do for this trade? It was more like
Right.
an
Right.
overview, and you have to. Law firms are doing it. Accounting firm. You don't think $1 billion sports organization is using some AI to not make decisions, but collate all this information. This idea that you can just be, and I'm not calling people like Luddites as like this pejorative, but rather to
Hmm.
say like if you're not using it, someone else is. If you're Ryan
Exactly.
Martin,
No,
John
100%.
Chayka,
Everybody
Sonny Meta,
is.
you're like, hey, see all this information, find me a player who meets this profile, and then you
Right.
find the player, and then maybe your pro scouts take a look. As you said,
Yeah.
get the data. This is an archetype of this is the next Bobby McMahon. He's in the ECHL. Go find this archetype.
Hmm.
Okay, we're going to
Hmm.
trade a seventh round pick for him. Three. I just there was such an overreaction. And I get why, because AI is very scary and it can take
It
jobs. But
is.
unfortunately, you cannot put the toothpaste back in the bottle with certain things. Now, do I think we should be relying on AI for everything? Of course not. I'm not trying to be this big AI defender. I'm not trying to bootlick, but you need to be using it. Like, unfortunately, you just do. And I'm not saying for
Yeah. No,
everything,
I agree.
and I'm not saying use it for all this research, but like for example, like even medical research is using AI because it's helpful in again, that's
Yeah.
I'm kind of going in a circle, but is that what are your thoughts on that?
No, so I definitely have the same opinion. Like to me, I think it's disingenuous to suggest Pelly just walked in with a ChatGPT, trade proposal. Like
Yeah, that's something I do,
I
not him.
yeah, exactly. Like I can assure you the Leafs have their own internal tool that is just miles
100%.
ahead of what we can come up with or we can even find online. So I don't have a big issue with that because if it's your own model that you built and you put the information yourself into
Yeah.
it, then and it spits back at you trade proposals based on, what you put in, the information that you put into the model. Like I think that's fine because the saying is you can either adapt or die. And I think AI is revolutionizing our world. As you said, every high level of business is using AI to optimize workflows. So I think it's okay that he walked in with their AI'd trade proposals. I think that's fine. Because to me as well, there was talk that Treliving didn't listen to the Leafs analytics department. So for Pelly to walk in with his own trade proposals, and his own information, I can reason to think that Treliving might listen to that because it's his boss that's
Yeah.
talking to him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if it's Daryl Metcalf mentioning, hey, I came up with these, trade proposals
Yeah.
based on my data, and I don't think he might not listen to that. But if it's his boss using the AI data, whatever you want to call it, I think he might actually listen. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't think people are going to misunderstand us. Like, I don't want people like to assume what I'm saying is every job needs to be AI. Everyone's going to, like, that's not what I'm saying. But unfortunately, it just, this is something that these high level, and it's not even just sports, or it is every
Yeah,
organization is using
yeah,
it. So ultimately, it's not, as you said, I'm just repeating what you said now. You're not going to ChatGPT or Claude and saying, who should the Leafs acquire? Give me some information. It's more like,
exactly.
this is our internal data. And I'm assuming this is what Keith Pelley, this is our internal data. What recommendations would you make based on the data we've given you? And you listen or you don't, but it's a tool. That's what it is. It's analytics. It's literally
It's a
just a
tool,
tool.
exactly.
Just like pro scouting is a tool. I am, in my opinion, a better pro scout than amateur scout. I don't get prospects and how they project. We didn't even talk
Hmm.
about prospects today, but we'll have to do it next week because we're running out of time on that. But
Yeah,
it's a tool. It's a tool, and I think it's disingenuous to assume the worst. Do I like Keith Pelley? I have no
right,
strong, like, I don't
right.
really love him, but I just,
Like
he
we're
might
not
be an
in,
idiot, but he's no
yeah,
fool. You know what I'm trying
like
to
we're
say?
not in the boardroom, so it's hard for us to
Yeah,
say. We can only just go off. And like as everyone was saying, when the Leafs are bad, this article gets more play. So I think that's why there's
for
been such
sure.
a large reaction to it is because the Leafs are so bad. And I think that's why sources that were sourced for the article are willing to talk about it because they're so
I
bad
agree.
and they're worried about their job security. And then I don't know if you had any more you wanted to
I have
say.
one. I want to end on our question, so hit me with your last thing. Then we're gonna play like a 5 minute game.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to say about that was the Hamza Tarani thing. I don't know if you caught that
I
in the
tell me no.
article.
Tell. Oh
So,
yes, yes, the
yes. So there was a
MLSE
point
employee.
about Hamza Tarani, who is the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer at MLSC. So I pulled up the quote from the article, and it said that looming over the deadline date action was Pelly and another non-hockey executive not in the room but playing an influential role nonetheless, Hamza Tarani, the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer at MLSC. The belief among staffers was that Pelly's AI musings were coming directly from Tarani, who has become one of Pelly's most trusted advisors. One organization source said Tarani had his fingers in all of the MLSE teams. And so I think he is a really interesting person to bring up right now because he's reportedly involved in the current GM search. And so I actually like that because he seems like a really smart man. Um, it said he built everything from AI to analytics to biomechanics and has had the Raptors embrace that support and use MLSE's, it's called the Sports Performance Lab, which is what he built. And so to me, that's really interesting because I think he's more equipped to find someone that thinks like him than
Yeah.
anyone
A
else would.
lateral
And
thinker.
yeah, like he would be able to find someone who, has that same type of analytical thinking like him. And I like that Pelly's listening to him because he is a very smart man. And I found that the narrative around him was more scared than willing to accept it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see where that goes.
Right.
Not that I'm trying to rush us out because that's a great point, but
Hmm.
I do want to hit this game before we leave, and I
Okay,
feel
let's
like
do
you
it.
have good insight. Okay, this is a would you rather. There's no guidelines. The simple question is the simple question, and you take it to what it means. It could be would you rather now? Would you rather in the future? Okay.
Okay.
Would you rather be the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Detroit Red Wings?
Oh, that's good.
Would
Toronto
you
Maple
like me to
Leafs.
vamp so you can think?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you have an answer, so let me think.
This was one of my more difficult ones. I would rather be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Hmm.
I would rather that they're not as good now. They've got better young players on Detroit, but I think the bones of the Leafs, taking into account organizational depth, potential for a good change, an elite goal scorer, I would rather be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay. I think I'm gonna say the Leafs as well,
Okay,
just because I don't know where the Red Wings go from here.
correct.
Like,
Okay, I agree
like,
with you.
yeah, like I just Mo Seider, great, like he's one of the best defensemen in the league. I just question their ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like,
they don't
can
have the forwards.
yeah,
Raymond's amazing, but
Raymond's amazing. Can
Larkin's not
Larkin?
him. No,
Can I think Larkin is a fantastic player? Is he a
elite.
1C on a cup contender?
No, he's not. Very
Yeah,
few
he
are. Like
isn't.
people say that there's so few one C's are one C's on cup contenders.
Exactly. And I think that brings us back to the Pedersen conversation, is
Yeah,
that's why,
he's a two C. He's a
yeah,
one C on a bad team. That's what it
right.
is. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
also, just with that, is I don't think they could, like, clearly Yzerman is,
They can't
like, they
fire
need
him.
a change there, but they can't fire him. Like,
That's my
he's
Sundin
stuck
worry, but
there.
we'll talk about Sundin next week if
Hmm.
he is hired. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
I know my answer to this one. Would you rather be the Panthers or the Leafs?
I have to say the Panthers.
Panthers for sure. Panthers for
Yeah.
sure. I'm just going through teams that truthfully have not made the
Hmm.
playoffs.
Okay.
Um, would you rather be the Capitals or the Leafs?
That's a good one.
Losing Ovi,
I
nothing
think,
in the tank.
yeah, I think I still have to say the Leafs.
I'm going to say
Like,
the Leafs.
I just don't know if they have the high-end
No,
talent.
they don't.
Yeah.
Would you rather be the Blue Jackets? This is again one of my good ones. The Blue Jackets or the
That's
Leafs?
also a good one. I think I still have to say the Leafs.
That's right.
Like
Islanders or the Leafs?
I think the Blue Jackets are so mid. Like
I agree.
I'm not sold on Fantilli. I don't know what he is. Like I feel
It's
like he's
hard.
so inconsistent sometimes.
Islanders or the Leafs?
Islanders or Leafs? I think I would have to say the Leafs.
I agree. Schaefer's a demon, but that's
Schaefer's a demon, but again, Horvat, Barzell, like they're two C's. Like
you
they're
ready for the
just
hardest one that I
yeah.
had? At least in the East. Devils or the Leafs.
That's a good one.
That's this was my
That
most
is
difficult one.
that is a really good one.
And the recent Nico Hischier quotes make it difficult.
He was also on my trade targets, but
Ah,
we didn't get to
ah,
it. But maybe we can say that for another time.
yeah.
I think I would have to say the Devils just because I think Hughes is locked in long term, all right? Like I
Yep.
want to see what his
He's got,
contract
I think, four
is.
more years or 5 more years.
Yeah, and so I think that if you want to say that Bratt and Nylander are like similar-ish players, I think just having Hughes locked in. Now, he is made of glass and he gets injured all the time.
He's a bozo as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so he has 4 more years, which is great. Does he have 4 more years or 5 more years? Oh no, that's Timo Meyer. He's got 4 more years. So I think that like a lot of their core is locked up. You have Meyer, you have Hughes, you have
And they might
Bratt.
get Quinn.
Yeah, and if they get Quinn, I think they need to figure out their goaltending because Markstrom is not it.
No, he's not.
I think they need to clear off a D contract, but their D core is great. Like
Okay.
I think they're
I
gonna be
think I
good.
disagree. Well,
Interesting.
I think Leafs simply because I don't know if he sure is in love with this team, and if he leave, he's people are underrate how good he sure is.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so
yeah,
I think, well, I think they would trade him before he leaves, which is
yeah.
interesting because what I had written down was he was one of my trade targets because of what he mentioned about his future and all that kind of stuff. He's got a year left on his deal. So could you do something with Nyes there? Because they mentioned
Please
how
God,
soft they are. Like they
yeah,
talked about how like they're soft and all this kind of stuff. So could you do something with Nyes there?
yeah.
And then could you extend Nico Hischier long
We
term?
didn't have time to get into it, but there's a
Yeah.
Leafs like that or the McDavid thing where it's like, oh, if you know if they end up in the first round. Nevertheless, I don't. Okay,
Yeah,
couple we're
exactly.
gonna fly through. I know the answer to this.
Oh, Leafs for
Rangers or
sure.
Leafs. Okay, we're gonna quickly hit the West and we're gonna jump out of here.
Okay.
Blackhawks or Leafs.
Leafs.
Jets or Leafs.
Oh, Leafs for sure. Jets are so bad.
Preds.
Leafs.
Blues.
Leafs.
Canucks.
Oh my God, Leafs.
Flames.
Leafs.
Kraken. I mean, sorry. Did I ask the Kraken? No,
No.
Kraken.
Yeah, oh, Leafs for sure.
Sharks.
Sharks.
Sharks. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that game. I think I had
Yeah,
mostly the
yeah.
same answers. Okay, we've done over an hour now. Uh, I hope everyone enjoyed.
Hmm.
We have some more for next week. Obviously, we didn't get to everything. We're still working out our pacing a bit.
Yeah.
I think I went long on Berube, so I really got really
No, it was
heated.
good. I think that was a good
Yeah.
discussion.
So
Hmm.
I think we'll leave it here. Thank you for
Yes.
joining our second episode. We're looking
Yeah.
forward to your feedback in the comments. If you have any thoughts about things you
Hmm.
disagreed with, just be nice and let us know.
Yeah.
Someone's like, audio's shit, but I'll
Yeah.
listen to it
Or
anyways.
that one guy said we're terrible and we should quit.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. Thanks for
Yeah, it
bringing
was
that to
on
my attention.
YouTube. I was like,
I
awesome,
didn't.
thank you.
I think the biggest thing that I heard was it Adam Wild, who was just like, just do it, you'll get better.
Exactly.
Don't listen to the comments.
Exactly.
But you know
Exactly.
what? We're shit. It's all right.
You
All
know,
right, Jordan. Thanks for joining me, man.
of
See you guys next
course.
week.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. We can cut it
Okay.
there.
Let me